Hey guys, welcome. My name is Mark Devoe. Welcome to vlog number 1, steps to overcoming anxiety and stress at work or in life and finding peace. So this is my first vlog, but this is actually third or fourth recording because I posted on YouTube, but I subsequently watched it and almost fell asleep myself, so I thought I'm not going to bore you guys with some of the boring details about me, etc., and let's just jump into it so we can learn and share and grow from there. But I will just give you a little bit of background very briefly about who I am, being my first vlog, so you understand, can connect, and we can go from there. What put me on this journey and this topic of steps to overcoming anxiety and stress at work or in life and finding peace was this is where I felt my journey began. I basically had a nervous breakdown in about 2012. This shook me to a bit of an awareness, and I just decided, I realized there's so many people out there that are just living in a bit of fear, suffering, and a bit of a sleep state. So my goal is to share, connect, add value to your lives. Why I set up a YouTube channel? Anxiety has played a big role, but I believe I've actually transcended that and wish to share that. So I'd like to be talking about steps to overcome anxiety and stress, but my focus is going to be around awareness, consciousness, focusing on anxiety as well and how to deal with it in work, in life in general. Okay, so hopefully that's going to help you guys out there. What's my background? Why should you listen to me? From life experience, some of the resources that I've gained knowledge from is sales books. I'm working 9 to 5, so I'm in the sales industry, so psychology from sales and skill with people, to various other spiritual books, which a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is of spiritual content as well, which to me is the most important factor. So from Eckhart Tolle to Neville Goddard to A Course in Miracles, the Bible being a cornerstone as well of those works, but just misused, as we know, in the past. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm a certified mindfulness and meditation teacher, if that means anything. It means more that I've been meditating for about 7 or 8 years, currently studying life coaching, on the journey to learning and discovery and growth. So hopefully by vlogging this, we can share and help people out there. Okay, so let's jump into it. I'm going to be doing a screen recording, so we'll jump into the computer. You can see the screen recording that I will be doing. Due to my first vlog, and I was actually recording this at night, so I had to, I've got a small kid, so I was talking a little bit softly, so you could speed it up on YouTube, I'm sure, but the first section is a little bit more upbeat, but from there it's a little bit somber, so just bear with me, but there's some awesome content in there. These steps are going to be foundational steps. They will be, from my perspective, but in my life journey as well. So some of it's going to make sense, some of it might not, but generally they are going to be foundational steps that are going to help any person in their walk and in their journey. So hopefully it's going to add value to your lives, and I hope we can grow together and there'll be more to come. So let's jump into the screen recording. Okay, so what is stress and anxiety? Okay guys, just to reiterate, I have re-recorded some content. I've re-recorded this part, but from the steps onwards, it will be the original content, which, as mentioned, is a little bit on the somber side, but I'm not re-recording that, so I'm just going to whisk through this very quickly just to keep this video short, but just please bear in mind that the rest of it is a little bit slow. I'm sure you could speed it up on YouTube, but I'll just whisk through this quickly. Okay, so before we jump into the steps about stress and anxiety, I just want to get a bit of an understanding as to what stress and anxiety as well as depression are about, as well as forming a little backdrop to how they come about. So we all, of course, experience life in different ways, and so anxiety, stress, and depression will feel and mean different things to us, but the root cause is the same, which is ultimately fear. We will chat and unpack this more in other vlogs. The below are two loose definitions of stress and anxiety, which I did research on the internet, pretty generic and secular, which I do not fully agree in totality, as these are symptoms and not ultimately the true cause, but again, just gives a little bit of insight there. So stress is your body's reaction to a trigger, and it's generally a short-term experience. When stress kicks in, it helps you pull off that deadline you thought was a lost cause. It's positive. When stress results in insomnia, poor concentration, and impaired ability to do the things you normally do, it's negative. Stress is a response to a threat in any given situation. Okay, so anxiety, on the other hand, is a sustained mental health disorder that can be triggered by stress. Anxiety doesn't fade into the distance once the threat is mediated. Anxiety hangs around for the long haul and can cause significant impairment in social, occupational, and important areas of functioning. Okay, so this has definitely been evident in my life, and I'm sure many of you out there. Okay, so I have dealt more with anxiety, but these practices will, as mentioned, be applicable for various other forms of suffering, including depression. And as described by Johann Hari, which I find is an interesting and useful way of thinking about anxiety and depression, is being flip sides of the same coin. Okay, so he's a British Swiss writer, in case you didn't know. So these are all diseases, okay, and fear-based ultimately, as mentioned. And I'm definitely going to be talking about why and where this fear ultimately comes from in other vlogs. Okay, so part of the problem for most of us and the world we live in is that we are under quite a lot of stress due to our jobs, bosses, deadlines, having to make money, what society dictates, and the list goes on. This can, however, also be down to the perception of the individual, which we will discuss in a bit. Okay, the issue is that stress and anxiety in particular cause our natural response of fight or flight, which is our mammalian attribute for survival, i.e. when danger is about, so we need to, of course, avoid it. But due to our perceived modern-day danger or pressure, we are constantly under this stress and anxiety, which has long-term damaging effects. Okay. So concepts, beliefs, and backgrounds. So we all have our backgrounds, and this is then governed by our concepts and beliefs about ourselves, either consciously or unconsciously. So depending on our level of consciousness or awareness, we can take responsibility and start to change things, or we continue unconsciously on what we have been taught and believe is true about ourselves, i.e. the story about who we think we are, which is ego-based, which we will talk a little bit about. So this story about ourselves can be great or not so great, but ultimately we all want to be truly conscious and aware of this life we live, so we can truly create and start to take accountability and make good choices, don't we? So clear seeing is the key. So we can consciously create amazing things, and this can only happen from an aware, peaceful state of mind. Okay, so just a little bit of background there, or backdrop. Clearing the weeds. There's a lot going on in the world on the internet and social media about manifestation, awakening, and people are truly becoming more conscious and aware, which is truly awesome. But I feel most of us will not perhaps know how to get there without clearing some of the weeds, so to speak, which is what these steps are all about. As an example, if we are in an anxious or depressed state of mind, until we break the cycle, we will be processing life and making decisions from this state of anxiety or depression, or from a state of whatever else we are feeling, maybe even fear. So we will be unpacking more of this though through the steps. 4 steps, no quick fixes. So I'm going to just speed up a little bit in my speech, just because I realize it's taking a little bit longer than I would like to have this video. Okay, cool. So step 1, becoming present. Step 2, awareness. Step 3, meditation and mindfulness. Step 4, what are you putting into your daily life, i.e. spiritually and or positive material that uplifts and brings about a sense of peace and wellness. And then I did add a 5th step. I just said beyond the focus of the focused scope of this video, but as important, and they link to the above steps and each other. So this is a holistic approach, and so step 5 would be sleep, diet, exercise. I put in brackets movement. It doesn't have to be intensive exercise, but just some sort of movement is going to be perfect. Yoga is obviously awesome, but yeah, okay. So I've tried to keep it simple, and in doing so, keeping it to 4 steps to focus on and build a foundation to grow from there. These are truly core foundational steps, as mentioned, as these are not just for people, of course, who suffer, but also for all of us to reach higher levels. Cool. I believe these steps are unshakable, and if practiced, you will truly tap into your unlimited potential. Cliche, but true. So, on two sides, one being a pathway to peace, enlightenment, pathway to God, if you like, and the other side being effective, pragmatic in our daily lives. I just said these are not quick fixes, and no such thing, I believe, which is most of today's society issues. Not to say that you will not start seeing results or effects straight away. So yeah, guys, obviously anything worth doing or notable is going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. But having said that, it doesn't have to take an extensive amount of time to see results as well, and it's going to depend on our perception of it. Okay, so let's dive into the steps. They're all connected and relate to each other. So depending on your level of consciousness and receptiveness, or where you are currently in life, will depend on what you relate to or which resonates with you. So this means some things of what we discuss here might not resonate with you now necessarily, but others will. And this is important as our level of consciousness does change and increase, of which there is no limit. So perhaps coming back to this video will have more meaning. Meaning that, if you come back to this video at at a later stage, you might pick up some more things, that info, etc., that just has more meaning for you as well. Okay, and that goes for the same for most things in life. Okay, some of these steps won't necessarily be easy, but they can also depend on attitude and willingness to grow, and like anything, will need to be practiced. Some steps may feel more pragmatic than others, but just remain open and receptive. I think that's quite important. But before we begin, I would like to establish a bit of calm and presence so we can create a bit of space, focus, and peace of mind, and also an enjoyable time to share. Don't know if that sounds weird to some of you, but instead of just whizzing through these videos and just thinking about other things and making it worthwhile time and absorbing what you are reading or listening to, just becoming present. And becoming present means putting aside thoughts of the day, past, future, and being in this moment fully, so it can be a valuable time spent. Okay, so if I could invite you to take a few deep breaths in at your belly or nose, wherever you feel the air more strongly coming in and going out. And the belly is normally a good anchor point, but again, wherever it feels comfortable for you, where you can feel the air coming in and going out as you inhale and exhale. Okay, so let's take just a couple of breaths. Inhaling awareness, and exhaling softening. Okay, so inhaling awareness and exhaling softening. And just as you exhale, just try and notice your body softening. Okay, cool. Finally, step 1. Becoming present, acceptance, and letting go. Okay, so step 1, becoming present. So what does being present actually mean? Okay, quite a big question is, have you accepted fully that where you are in life now is where you are? And what this means is, we fully need to own that this is where we are now in this moment and current situation in life, without judgment. So this was quite a big step for me in becoming aware and finding more peace in the now, as opposed to being anxious about where I should be in the future and what I've done in the past. So keep this in the back of your mind as we progress. Okay, so still under step 1, becoming present, jumping to past and future. So I'm sure most of us can say that whether you think you have a lot of money or not, there is always something else on the horizon to make us complete or whole. I would venture to say that this is a calling to purpose on the one side, but on the other side, a feeling of not being adequate or not feeling whole. So just think about this. So my point being, we are all whole, and we don't need something to fulfill us, which we'll unpack a little bit further. Okay, so most people are not only in jobs they don't enjoy, but life in general. I'm sure I can safely say that you've arrived here is because this is the case. So most of us are constantly jumping to the future and the past, and this brings its own problems such as depression and anxiety, to name the most common two, all being fear-based as mentioned. And there are many reasons which I mentioned above about what society dictates or what you think you should be doing or have done in the past. Okay, again, I'm just going to reiterate again, have you accepted where you currently are in life without further resistance and regret? So ultimately where you currently are in life is where you are, and it sounds so obvious, but we really need to sit with this and become at peace with it. And I'm not talking about an emergency situation, of course, because then you act in the moment and you solve the issue there and then. Okay, so if some of you out there are in not such a great situation, and there's plenty of us that are, to put it lightly, are not in great situations. But I just say breathe in and accept, or at least start practicing this idea or concept now. Okay, so acceptance does not mean lying down and letting life or people walk all over you. It means more own that this is where you are without resistance. So meaning where you are currently, own that this is where you are, as what you resist persists. Okay, so this will make a little bit more sense as we carry on. I remember Eckhart Tolle in his book A New Earth saying your primary goal is bringing presence, and presence ultimately means peace into this world, and your secondary goal is then what you do in this life for your job or work or career. These will then align naturally. Okay, so for me this meant a lot during my most anxious time, because I had so many pressures going on in my life, etc., and instead of just going out into the world just to make money, I was now going out there with purpose and to engage and bring presence and connection to people. So fulfillment is probably the most important factor in life. I don't know if that makes sense to a lot of you out there, but we always, it's cliche, but we're always seemingly chasing after the wrong things. Okay, so, and we can do this, and meaning we can be present in our daily lives, which then actually starts making us more effective in what we currently do, as our focus is in the present moment, which is the only moment there is. This now starts to open up another dimension to life in terms of not always looking to get and how we perceive life in general. We'll chat a little bit further on that. Okay, so still under step 1 of becoming present, letting go. So empty yourself. Sometimes, if not most, we have to just let go. Everything we think we know about anything and everything, where we should be or what we should have done, all beliefs and what we think we know, and become totally present. We are ever defending our position in life and in what we believe, always defending our ego, which wants to survive at all costs. Another vlog on the ego. Anyway, so only when you are empty can you start to be filled. Again, sounds a little cliche, but pretty true. But we need to now start filling ourselves with the right things. Okay, so we need to empty ourselves of all these previous beliefs and what we think. So during my episode, nervous breakdown, all I could do was let go. And this was due to a culmination of variables. This was a free moment, as mentioned, but we don't need things to build up to a stage where we are forced to let go. Start practicing letting go in everyday things in life. Ironically, when you let go is when things come back or into your life. And I'm sure many of you have experienced that, so I hope this is making a little bit of sense. Okay, so the next one, forgiveness. So this is still under step 1. So to become truly present, we need to have forgiveness. Forgiveness and letting go hand in hand. Without the past, there is nothing to forgive. But we need to forgive ourselves first. Everyone else will then follow. So forgive ourselves or people from what? From the illusion of having wronged ourselves or others. So forgive yourself of everything you think you have done wrong. These are all ego-based, which keeps you locked into guilt and feeling bad about yourself. Nothing is really unforgivable. Ego, as mentioned, will be discussed in another vlog more in depthly. I hope I'm not repeating myself there. Okay, so on forgiveness, this means ultimately there is no wrong or right. I know this might take a little bit of change in mindset, but only your state of awareness as our backdrop is life, is light, love, goodness, which we are all moving towards. You know, some of us are in dark places right now or out there and sometimes can't see this, so they might have difficulty accepting this. Okay, so this may seem hard to swallow for some that have truly felt they have been wronged, and this is understandable, but we are talking about true forgiveness and maintaining, being able to see the light in others at all costs, which is a state of consciousness, so may be difficult to see sometimes. So some of us have just lost our way through various life situations, but we all ultimately need forgiveness. Even if some of you don't feel like you can truly forgive, this needs to be understood and practiced, as non-forgiveness can be a habit that needs to be replaced through awareness. So just to really drive this home, we need to start and forgive ourselves. There is no right or wrong, but only our level of consciousness. Once we are fully conscious, we will see the illusions of fear and guilt that we have held over ourselves and others. And when I say fully conscious, you know, there are obviously different levels of consciousness. So as you start to become conscious, aware, awakening, etc., you'll start to understand this more. Okay, so your next step while being present. What's so interesting about being present is that your next step will then be on this effective, positive path and not tainted by the repetitive habitual past. You might say, okay, then nothing will change, and if I'm in an unfulfilled or terrible job or place in life, I'm now just accepting what is. So to unpack that, if you are permanently in a resistant or negative state of mind, which most of the time is down to us and our inner world projecting outwards and not necessarily the person or situation. Okay, so basically if we're still in that resistance state of mind, then you keep creating the same scenario in life or in your next job, relationship, as this is learned behavior and what you know. And again, ego-based. So I hope this is making sense. What you resist, you strengthen, which means if you're resisting your situation, you are strengthening it, and therefore repeating it. What you focus on is what you feel. And this is what your subconscious operates on. But this is beyond this discussion right now. Okay. Again, where your focus goes, your energy flows. So instead of focusing on your negative situations, start to focus on what you would like or how you could feel and look different. Look different for you, meaning how life could look and feel different for you. Okay. So to reiterate, if you try and alter the future from a place of pain and suffering, you will get more pain and suffering. We can unpack that more in another vlog. If you're in a survival mode, i.e. fight or flight that we mentioned before, then you need to act accordingly, but this will be in the moment. Okay, you learn from pain and suffering, but you need to then be in a state of relative peace and calm to make the next effective step or decision. So I hope this makes sense. Renew your mind as often as possible, letting go of the past and becoming present. As Eckhart Tolle says, die to the past as often as possible. I know I'm rushing through this, but it's quite a bit of content.